I was born in Kansas, I was bred in Kansas,
Well, hi. I just got back from my high school reunion in Lawrence, Kansas. Lawrence, Kansas, you say? Yes. Yes, I'm back here in Houston. I just want to make this little film. Not a lot is known about Lawrence or Kansas, and I discovered that Lawrence has changed some, but in a lot of ways it stayed the same. It is a university town. And just in this film, I wanted to go back in time, look at a few things that have changed, but look at some things that are the same. And also, this shirt was made in Lawrence. You can find it at the Au Marché, or a shirt like it. And the Au Marché is at a store in Lawrence's downtown on Massachusetts. Okay, thanks for watching.
Lawrence is fabulous. It is really a cool town.
All right, very good. Todd and Helen, did you like growing up in Lawrence?
What?
Did you like growing up in Lawrence?
I grew up in Lawrence.
Helen, did you like growing up in Lawrence? I enjoyed growing up in Lawrence very much.
The 65th anniversary of the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. It was a horrendous act. It was an act of criminal proportions, massive criminal proportions. And we want to say that we don't ever want to see that happen again. Certainly not in our name and with our tax money.
Good deal. This is the Lawrence, Kansas post office where they have a famous yearly tax party inside the lobby. There's no loitering, although the tax party, I've seen in YouTube videos that there is a music group here, but they do permit them to play some music here. You're saying that you can believe you can fly? This is a train that I can remember playing on as a child. It's in a park here in downtown Lawrence, and I can remember that that we used to have pretty free access. Now it's a little bit roped off. It says here that it logged 871,114 miles. I think they've maintained it really well. This is another really interesting aspect of Lawrence. There are a lot of Victorian homes that have been repainted, and what we thought were traditional white colors, they are actually very brightly colored houses, such as this one. Now this is old downtown Lawrence, and it's probably about 30 years ago that our family friend, a retired Spanish professor, Maud Elliott, took us on a tour of downtown Lawrence and pointed out the house, and I don't know if one of these houses could be it, but she pointed out the house where her great-grandmother, I believe, would have put out with a bucket of water some fire. So her house would have been set fire, and her great-grandmother, who I believe, as I recall, was working as a servant in the house, she put the fire out with a bucket of water. And these were the Quantrill's Raiders. This is also an example of another Victorian home with some original coloring. There may be a problem with indigence in Lawrence. This is a famous toy store here in Lawrence, and the bear is at this moment blowing some bubbles. These are very popular mascot animals known as a Jayhawk.
There, look down. Yeah, that way. Look down. Down more. And we'll turn this way.
This is the Campanile, or bell tower, here in the background. There's a lot of red roofs here, which is very pretty. And of course it's hilly, which is also really nice.
This is Lawrence, Kansas. This museum is quite tall.
It is quite tall. Now this is the Natural History Museum, which was built, I believe, in the 1930s. A friend of mine's father was an ichthyologist, and he had some offices. There's some really beautiful architecture outside of this Natural History Museum. This horse, which is Comanche, was at the Battle of Little Bighorn. This is a Bishop Natural History Museum I remember seeing as a girl. They are glowing in the dark, these fluorescent rocks. This is my mother's front porch home for many a picture taken. This is the street that I grew up on. It used to be a gravel road, and it really is still very pretty. This is a sign for the Meadowbrook Apartments. It's one of the sections of Meadowbrook Apartments. This is where the guy who invented Google Earth lived, and the center of Google Earth is actually over these apartments here in Lawrence campus. Well, these are all nice and relatively recently built homes. I miss the field that used to be here that was in back of our house. It had a pond, horses. The Endicotts, a very nice older couple, lived here, and she baked great cookies. And I remember very sadly, though, that when her husband, Mrs. Endicott's husband, passed away, she married Mr. Endicott's brother. And my mother and I had been reading Hamlet, and so I think maybe I was 8 or 9 at the time. I asked my mother if it was sort of like in Hamlet where the brother poisons the one brother so he can marry his wife. And my mother said, no, 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 no. This is the home of Mrs. Frank, my former piano teacher, but she passed away a little bit ago.
You never heard the story?
I know the story. I don't know if Mary Ann's heard the story.
Well, I was asking you. Okay. 1953. I started graduate school here. I had never been outside of New York. And I flew to Kansas City, took a bus to Lawrence. I got off the bus, and I looked around to see what the town was like, and the first thing I saw was an Indian in full headdress walking down the street. Then a few minutes later, there were people, women in gingham dresses, and bonnets, and men in those broad black hats with beards. And I thought to myself, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? And I thought, this was really terrible. These people were behind the times, they weren't civilized, they probably didn't have bathrooms. Well, it turned out that it was the Lawrence Centennial, and the townspeople were supposed to dress up like 100 years ago. And I didn't know, but like I said, it really kind of fooled me. I was ready to go home. Now, when I first lived here, Iowa Street was the end of town. There was nothing beyond Iowa Street except cornfields, wheat fields. And now, of course, it's in the middle of town instead of the end of town. And telephones, there were no dial telephones here. You picked up a telephone, and you said to the operator, 23, or I want 67. And the operator would make the connection for you. Okay.
My good friend Helen, we just visited with her father on film, but this is the largest oak tree in Lawrence. Hi, my name is Maria. I'm a Tibetan Terrier, and I live in Lawrence. I like it. I actually came from Houston. My Uncle Alan brought me here for my mom. And, I kind of like it. Right now I have a summer haircut, but yeah, Lawrence is kind of a fun place to snoop around.